What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is John Scott Won't Stop. I'm a second generation hairstylist that's been doing hair for the better part of 2 decades. And typically I'm here to share my knowledge that I've gained through the industry with you. However, we're doing something a little bit differently. As you can tell by the title, this is going to be the second installment of my Stalker story time. Let's just jump right into it. I want to make some corrections from part one. I was doing it off of memory. I wrote everything down on a whiteboard. I do have an eidetic memory, but I did suffer from fibromyalgia for a while. So I had fibro fog, blah, blah, blah. Memory is not as great as it used to be. I remember all the things that happened. They just got out of order. So if you hear me repeat something in part two, part three, part four, whatever, it's just because I got the timeline mixed up. Now, when you guys hear everything that's been going down, you'll understand that there's just so much, there's such a volume of incidents that it would make sense why it was so hard to keep up with. But moving forward, anything that I say in the timeline will be done properly. I've been going back through all the videos, back through all the receipts, back through the entire thing from the beginning to make sure I had everything in order. So first and foremost, I want to make a correction. It didn't happen from February 25th, 26th to March 8th. It was actually until April 8th. So that was it. The last part was over the span of a month. I forgot to mention that someone had gotten a hold of her phone number and address, which is public information. I didn't give it to anybody, and decided to write her a letter and send her a text. Although the way she presented these things, you couldn't really see who, how, or why it was written. For all we know, she could have written it herself. I asked around to my friends to see if any one of my friends, in like a protective moment, decided to reach out to her in some way in defense of me. I don't know. Still have no idea who would have sent that, if anybody did, which I don't believe anyone sent anything. I believe she just made that part up. Also, I forgot to mention, throughout this time, she made it clear that she was going to be writing a book about this situation. She seemed as if she was egging the situation on more and more to be able to write this book. Anything that she's going to print, because I have proof that everything she has said about me from the point of contact up until today has been a lie. The publishing company, if a publishing company picks it up, if she publishes it herself, it'll get pulled from any sales place that they try to sell it, because it will be libel, and I can prove that it's libel. And if she does try to put out a book, I will sue her for every single penny she could potentially make off that thing. So with that out of the way, we're going to go into part two, and I will be correcting. You'll hear incidents come up after the fact than what happened before. Where we left off in part two was at the end of the court case, where the judge said he was looking for anything he could to grant this protection order, and the only reason why he wasn't going to grant the protection order was because that her behavior didn't satisfy the statutes for stalking or the statutes for harassment. We did discuss cyber stalking a little bit in the hearing, but that was not considered by the judge, and I didn't push for it at the end of the hearing for him to make his decision. So she immediately makes a post afterwards telling her rendition of what happened. Unfortunately for her, people that I trust were watching it live stream, and they were actively commenting on her posts like, hey, that's not what happened. I watched the whole thing. You're lying through your teeth, so on and so forth. And then I went on to my live and said, hey, everyone, leave her alone. Don't reach out to her. Don't comment. Don't go to her lives. Don't bother her. Don't just ignore her. Leave her alone. I was hoping an out of sight, out of mind situation was going to happen. So everything I'm about to tell you now is going to happen between, we'll say April 8th and May 31st. Yeah, May 31st. So this is where it went. She at one point makes a 6 or 7 part. I think she lost count in labeling them. But she makes a 6 or 7 part series where she's reading this letter that she had written to the county prosecutor. Now, I live in a city inside that county, but the city has the resources it needs, that we have our own prosecuting attorney. We don't need the county prosecuting attorney. So she's just sending a bunch of information to someone that's not even working on a case that has anything to do with me, because it's not really their jurisdiction. They're more about the county and the rural towns in the county that don't have their own justice system that would have like a prosecuting attorney and things like that. Whatever. So she's reading this out and she's describing all her actions against myself and my friends, but claiming that I'm doing it to her. Like the projection is real and she's believing what she's saying. And her state of delusion, she is believing that all the things she has done to me, I am apparently doing to her. I don't know if she sees herself in me, but like, oh, no thanks. Her rendition of what happened in court was that the judge told her that she did nothing wrong and said that I was an idiot and that what I was doing was actually wrong. And that literally never happened. Not even nothing was even said that could be like misconstrued or confused for that. This was all on Twitter. She said a little bit of it in her video. It was just out there. But I mean, she's out there. It was also around this time that was when, after the court case, after the hearing, that was when she reached out to a known domestic violence abuser, acknowledged that he had charges against him and wanted to hear his side of the story, probably so she could justify teaming up with him because she was reaching out to team up with him against me. I had no interaction with this man before. Somebody she accused of being on my team because I just happen to be mutuals with them, which is not an uncommon thing for big creators to be. That creator had a problem with him. So she assumed that he and I had a problem somehow. If a creator looks, smiles in my direction, comments something positive on one of my posts, she will attach that person to me and then claim they're on a team of this cyber criminal ring that apparently I'm a top leader in or something. So these are where the accusations of me committing all these crimes start. So she's running with this narrative that I have created a cyber criminal ring, or a criminal ring of cyber stalkers is what it is. And that, I guess, I've set up this ring of, I think she lists off up to, at that time, I think she had like 8 people on a list that she had created, half of which I'm not even that close to, meaning like we're mutuals and we don't even send each other videos. We just happen to watch each other's content. So, but she's attached them to me, and then quite a few of my friends. I guess she thinks that having friends means you have a team of people that are working against her specifically, as if she's that important. I don't know. Really, I just want her to go away. I'm ignoring her throughout this entire situation. She claims that I was behind hacking her account because the email she was trying to use to sign in didn't exist, and this is an account on TikTok. Now, mind you, at this point, she has made probably about 20 to 25 different accounts to stalk and harass me with because I keep blocking her every time I find out what her new account is because she can't stay quiet on it long enough to not have me catch her. And so what I think happened is she just forgot what email address she was using at that time because she's probably made so many to make all these accounts to try to harass me from. And she, because of that, because she felt I was definitely behind hacking her, which I don't even know where I would even start with that, she decided to punish my husband for it. She said, I'm going after people's licenses in a video. And what she meant by that was she got my husband's name out of the court papers. And then she looked him up and saw that he was a nurse. And then she started attacking him and trying to lie about him. And then this lie starts to evolve as her lies tend to do. Before she had said my friend said his ex-girlfriend was going to shoot her. Then she said my friend was going to shoot her. And then at one point she said I was going to kill her with a box cutter. And then it turned into both my friend and I said we were going to shoot her. So when people don't believe her lie, she makes it juicier in an attempt to get them to believe the lie. She started doing the same thing with my husband. She found a paper about a recommendation that opens with the board alleges, because all it was allegations. And then she started spinning this story, saying things that weren't true, like that it was because he was stealing pills because he was a drug addict, even though that's not what happened. Then tried to say he was stealing pills to sell them, but I was very clear about like that doesn't make any sense. She was saying that we were flush with cash because he was stealing pills to sell them. But the number of pills she gives, I'm like, I don't think a person could be flush with cash over that many pills. I think they would need a lot more. I mean, I don't really know that game that well, but it just didn't seem like somebody would be flushed with cash. to the extent she was claiming we were from somebody stealing so many pills. Like it just didn't make any sense. So then that changed to he was drugging his patients. Okay. And then that changed to he was stealing pain meds from the elderly patients. And then he was stealing, it evolves, pain meds from elderly patients and disabled children that apparently stay in the same acute care facilities. She said he worked at an agency at the time that she's claiming all this happened. He worked for an agency, which means he worked at multiple places through this agency. She claimed that he was being shipped from one place to the next because he kept getting in trouble for things. That didn't happen. And then finally she settled on he was most recently stealing pain meds from disabled children. None of that was in the reprimandation of allegations. Like, none of it. He doesn't work in acute care like she keeps bringing up. There's just a lot that she fucking took a lot of creative liberty with. And we're like, okay. So she's actively attacking my husband. I'm still, mum's the word, I'm ignoring her because I'm not going to get into that. Through the rest of what I'm about to tell you, she's simultaneously attacking my husband while making these other claims. Another claim she made was that this criminal ring of cyber stalkers that I created, our intention was in that we definitely said, which this was never said by anybody that I know, let alone a criminal ring that doesn't exist, that it was our intention to drive someone's mental health down to get them to commit suicide. So now she's accused me of murder, or of threatening her life, threatening to murder her. She's accused me of trying to get people to kill themselves. She's accused me of a criminal cyber stalking ring. And then, because the fact that she made fun of my alcoholism was brought up in court, she then tried to accuse me of perjury and then went on this mission to try to discredit the fact that I was an alcoholic, because the incident that we spoke about in court was her being ableist, making fun of my alcoholism. So, like, Ms. Ma'am, what are you doing here? Like, it's clear that you are just, I think she was trying to absolve herself from looking ableist, but in the long run, she just made herself look even more so than she already did. She doubles down on blackmail and extortion accusations. She's saying things like she has an FBI agent she's working with that she calls her, like, my FBI agent is how she'll say it, or my investigator with her local sheriff's office. She claims that she's working with my police department. I called them. They said, no, the only calls that we have involving you, you're the victim. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not a suspect in anything that she has claimed that. So she's claiming she's pressing charges against me. She's claiming that she has me caught in proof of all these, like, crimes that I've committed, which she never shows proof, doesn't have any proof, they never committed them. And it's just a lot of, like, hot air being blown out. And so 2 weeks of this, and I file for another protection order. Like I said before, there's 3 outcomes. You can have both the hearing request and the emergency protection order denied, the hearing request granted, but the emergency protection denied, and then both hearing and the emergency protection order granted. The second time I went, the judge was like, oh, it just looks like she's defaming your husband. Doesn't look like much. I'm like, hey, it's escalating. The judge is like, still doesn't satisfy what I needed to satisfy for me to hear this case again, and denies me both. And I'm like, okay, so she can just torment me, and that's fine. And she's bringing my husband into it, who absolutely did nothing in this situation, has nothing to do with her, didn't care about the situation. I didn't talk to him about the drama. It was just whatever, right? But she brought him into it, and she started attacking him. She's also reading excerpts from her book, Clear Lies, Fabrications. I'm like, oh, that's going to be liable if she prints that, publishes it. You know, she starts making claims of a secret Discord that never existed, that she doesn't have proof of, but she claims it's there, and that we're organizing against her, and this is where we're saying things like trying to drive someone's mental health down, and that she was invited to it but didn't want anything to do with it. It's so much BS. My camera died. So the only time I was really on Discord, I had an account, and my friend has a public Discord that you can gain access to through his Patreon. I was one of the main moderators on there. And this was a time around the Womblands drama was going down. Somebody tried to bring it up in his live. Us as white creators, the Womblands drama was not our business. It was not ours to comment on. It's not ours to talk about. That was not our content, so we weren't talking about it. He wasn't talking about it. I wasn't talking about it. My stalker was making videos about it and then trying to blame or link my friend and I to it, which made absolutely no sense, but she tried. So that was more that we had to deal with. And so the only time I really went into his Discord was someone tried to bring up the Womblands topic in one of his lives on TikTok. And he's like, oh, take that over the Discord, just because he was trying to stop the conversation from happening in his live. And I saw that, and then I went over to the Discord and I saw that everybody was talking about it, and then accusations were flying around at everybody. And I reached out to the other moderator, the person that was like, that had created the Discord and was running the Discord for him. And I was like, shut the conversation down, shut that text channel down now. And she was like, why? But like, he said to bring it over here. And I'm like, he was trying to like contain it to get you guys to stop, take it down. So very much the opposite of what she claims happens over on Discord is what happened. I told her, or I told the person that was running the Discord, like, this is not a place for gossip about people that we have nothing to do with. We're not doing that. So that was taken care of. But she tried to link us to stuff that we had nothing to do with. She made accusations against me for committing all these crimes I didn't commit. So this whole time, she's claiming that I'm harassing, stalking her, committing all these crimes. I'm literally ignoring her. Literally ignoring her. I have John Scott Won't Stop. That's my account. She has had, by this point, I think somewhere over 33 accounts trying to stalk me. But I'm stalking her, apparently. According to her, me and my one account am stalking her, the woman who's made 33 accounts, to download, use, try to chop up my videos, try to intentionally and obviously misinterpret what I'm saying. If I make content that has to do with hair or a specific hairstylist that's on this platform more prominently that gives bad advice out, she's like, he's great and amazing and he looks like Linda Evangelista. She didn't say that. That's a Drag Race reference. But if a person and I don't get along, it doesn't matter who that person is, she tries to team up with them. She's trying to be buddy-buddy with them. The enemy of my enemy is my friend situation. But I don't get along with racists. I don't get along with homophobes, transphobes, misogynists, ableists. That's who I don't get along with, right? And that's who she's reaching out to. She has started this whole thing off talking shit on my friend, and I told her to leave his kid out of it. That was the extent of it. Now she's brought in my husband. She's been attacking me, accused me of a bunch of different crimes, like is encouraging people to make false police reports against me. Like the level, the amount of effort she's putting into me and my life is astounding at this point. And she's trying to claim that I am stalking her. Hello. Like, what are you talking about? So after coming after me, not even that, while coming after me, a friend of mine who is, I said, a disabled veteran, was working on the campaign of a political Democratic candidate. He was making his rounds on TikTok, going to his mutuals saying, hey, can we do a live together so he could reach the mutuals audience, talk about this candidate, campaign for them, so on and so forth. That was his only goal. That was his only intention. That's all he was talking about. He wasn't cutting it up about anything else. That's just what his main focus was. He ends up in a live with her, not knowing this was all going on. Because again, I'm ignoring it. So there's not a lot of like information that's being put out there. I'm not showing videos of her as much. Like, it's just like, I'm not showing videos of her at all at this point. It's in my rear view. I'm trying to keep it in my rear view. Or I'm just trying to ignore her, hoping that she'll just like pit her out and get over it. But honestly, she just increases in her attacks. He goes live with her to campaign for this candidate. And during this live, she keeps trying to bring up myself and my friend and talk about the drama with us. And he keeps redirecting the conversation back to campaigning for the candidate. And it wasn't really getting anywhere for him. He was trying his hardest. And then the live eventually ends. During this live, or after the live ends, she messages him what I call the manic manifesto. And this is just every lie she could think of about me and my friend, and trying to get him to believe her side of the delusion that she's experiencing. And he tells her he wants nothing to do with it. He's like, I don't know about all that. I honestly don't want to get involved in any of this. Every time I get involved in something like this, I always end up like at a bad situation. And I want nothing to do with it. And plus, he knows both me and my friend. We're mutuals with him, and he's like, they're not the type that you're claiming them to be. But he didn't say any of that. He just told her, like, every time I get involved in stuff like this, it goes bad for me. I just want nothing to do with it. And she's like, oh, I'm not trying to get you involved. I just thought you should be aware, and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, okay, haha, well, remind me not to get on your bad side. Like, talking about her passion for the situation. And so he makes that remark, like, oh, remind me not to make you mad ever. And she, in that moment, decides that he's not taking her side. So that must mean that he is taking my side. And the attacks against him start. She starts making video after video about him, and then remembers that he's campaigning for someone. So then she starts harassing and calling and leaving voicemails for the candidate that he's campaigning for. Harasses that candidate, who, by the way, was like, oh, my stalker on Twitter, talking about my stalker being her stalker. She's like, my stalker? Did I tell you about my stalker? Girl, she reached out to you a few times. She's not stalking you. Second, she's only attacking you because you have 2 degrees of separation from me. So just don't with that. Like, if like people try to act like they are in some serious situation when somebody is actually seriously in that situation annoys me. Anyway, the candidate was just like, you know what? Tells my buddy, I can't have you working on my campaign anymore. Literally, like, is like, screw you, disabled vet. I want nothing to do with you. I know that you have nothing to do with this situation. My stalker was telling this candidate that my buddy associates with criminals and this and that and the other thing, and that's going to look really bad for her campaign, and she's going to make sure of blah, 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 blah. So that like escalates and escalates. Over time, it got to a point where she got him fired from the campaign, and then goes on further to try to then go after his VA benefits as well as his wife's VA benefits. She tries to get their VA benefits taken away from them. She tried to get VA benefits taken away from a disabled veteran because he wanted nothing to do with the drama that she was trying to pull him into. Right? So then, another friend of ours, she goes live with the Army vet. We're going to call the friend Mare, right? So Mare goes live with the disabled veteran, and at some point, my stalker tries to like reach out to her, get her attention, something along those lines. And Mare, who is also a mutual of mine, was like, no dice, no lady, whatever. So then she starts harassing Mare in DMs and saying all kinds of hateful shit to her. Now, Mare is a beautiful woman of color, and my stalker, a white woman, tells Mare that the stalker is doing more for the Black community than Mare is, and that Mare is contributing to racism and white supremacy. Yeah. So she later goes on to tell my friend Mare that it's a good thing my friend Mare didn't remarry, because Mare would have chosen someone that would have abused her children. Okay. So this is what she does. She reaches, like, if someone is a friend of mine or there's some degree of separation to me, she will attack them. She's trying to isolate me at this point, trying to keep people away from me, trying to make it so that way if anyone tries to mess with me, she's going to become a nightmare for them, so that way I will stay isolated. This is classic narcissistic abusive like tactics to try to isolate whoever you're like going after. And she has the nerve, the unmitigated gall, to say that I'm abusing her and I am harassing her and stalking her and so on and so forth. This right now, this span of time that I'm talking about happened between April 8th and May 31st. Keep that in mind. Then she reaches out to someone that's notoriously racist on TikTok. and tries to team up with them against my friend that she also has, like, you know, the ultimate goal versus the main goal. So she like tries to team up with that guy, which I later expose her for her bullshit with that, and she tries to backpedal, or I'm not going to say that, but she tries to. It's a reference to another creator. She tries to backpedal her way out of it, and it doesn't work, right? And this is where another one of her lies that evolved happens. So she's making the claim that I called her husband's work belligerent, angry, yelling. A Karen on the phone is how she described me, and said that I apparently called belligerently, angry, whatever, yelled on the phone at whoever answered the phone, right? Um, she said in a cease and desist letter she wrote herself that was a joke. My lawyers looked at it and they were like, yeah, ignore that. I was like, okay. I'm going to read it to you guys in probably part 3. Yeah, in part 3, I'm going to read it to you guys. So I'll leave out names and identifiable information, but I'm gonna read it to you guys so you can hear how ridiculous this is. She claims a lawyer wrote it, but there's no letterhead for a lawyer, nor did a lawyer sign it. She clearly wrote it herself, bad grammar and spelling and all. She even gets some of the information mixed up. It's whatever. But in that cease and desist letter, she said of this supposed belligerent, yelling, screaming phone call that I apparently, allegedly, according to her, made, I refuse to leave any contact information to resolve said perceived dispute or whatever. But in a comment, she makes the claim that her husband's not going to email me back because apparently in this belligerent phone call where I was yelling and screaming, that I wouldn't leave any contact information, and I left an email for her husband to email me back. It's just, and then later on, I had made 4 of these phone calls. So this one phone call turned into 4 phone calls, and that they had to like up their security, and people were scared for their lives, and all this other crap, right? Which never happened. And then she, so then she reached out to members of my family that happened to be Black. And all of a sudden, this story turns into the person I was allegedly screaming out on the phone for these 4 phone calls was a person of color. They all of a sudden became a person of color once she was talking to my Black family members. Like, she tried to juice it up to like make them upset with me. Like, how could he do that? Problem is if any of this happened, how am I supposed to know the person on the other end of a phone is a person of color? So like the math wasn't math. And you see how like the lie evolves, like it tries to make it juicy to get people to believe. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And it's a lot to deal with. Okay. So I'm gonna stop this part, this installation of this series right here. Moving on into the next part, I finally respond to her. Part 3, I finally respond to her. I start exposing her for the shit that she's doing again. Have a back and forth with her for a minute, and move on from there. I want to say real quick that I have a couple people, you know who you are, that watch my back for me. They are the ones that were keeping an eye on the situation for me to make sure that lies weren't being spread about me, that people weren't being further encouraged to make false police reports about me. They were the ones that I was like, hey, I don't care what she's posting unless it has to do with me. They were keeping an eye on making sure that she wasn't posting false or libelous or defaming stuff about me, right? Making accusations about me or my husband or whatever. So those of you that were helping me, or that were watching my back, should I say, I appreciate you. You know who you are. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe. Be sure to click that bell, set your notifications so you don't miss any of these. I will also be releasing, don't worry if this kind of content is not your deal, I will also be releasing hair content alongside the story time that I'm doing. The story times will be posted on Tuesdays, ready to go for you guys. The hair content will be posted over on the Patreon on Tuesdays, but will be available on Thursdays here on YouTube. So if you want to go join the Patreon, you can do that. All right, guys, thank you for joining me. That's all I have for you today. I will be going over more week by week by week. So follow me along on this journey, and you'll get to see the hell I've been enduring for the last 10 months. Going on a year soon. All right, guys, have a good one.